Jo Laker is a qualified registered nurse and holds a diploma in business. In her role, Jo has assisted Samarinda's CEO, Tanya Gilchrist, in implementing an e-business strategy into the daily routine at Samarinda Lodge. The integration of multiple technologies into a streamlined communication network throughout the facility has improved efficiencies across the organisation. This initiative is the first integration and use of these technologies for residential aged care in Australia. Please welcome to the stage Ms. Jo Laker.
So, Jo is not a technology person, she's a nurse. So, there's not going to be a lot of acronyms or any of that kind of stuff. The discussion we really want to have is how has the world of delivering healthcare kind of changed as a result of some of these technology? I think the video's done a pretty good job to set some of that stuff up. Because at the end of the day, a lot of what we do is important. I mean, photocopiers matter, but if these guys mess it up, people die. Yeah? Yet, in a very strange way, it's one of the least, aged care is probably even worse, and I'm interested in your view, Jo, one of the least sophisticated industries in the world in terms of how well they use technology, not in terms of the health itself, but in terms of how we deliver healthcare. Is that kind of your...
That's very true. We're probably, as far as comparing the acute and the aged care sector, we're well and truly behind the 8 ball. But we've made a lot of changes in our facility, and I think aged care in general in the last couple of years is really starting to come ahead in how they're looking at technology.
So acute's normal hospital.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So what was happening? We kind of heard the whole walking up and down the hallway. Can you give us a day in the life pre-smart work implementation, what it was like, doing your job, what fell through the cracks that was important? Bit of a view on that?
Providing aged care is a very labour-intensive job, and aged care is probably not going to change in that respect of the labour-intensiveness of the job, because it's a one-to-one. People are providing care to other people, and so we had to look at ways to work smarter, and especially on the floor where most of our costs are. And so a day in the life of a nurse at Samarinda before Visera and some of the other things that we've implemented was, we're a relatively small facility actually, so we're probably a lot better off than some of the bigger organisations that might have 100 or 200 beds, maybe even more. But a lot of that time for the registered nurse and for the carers that are also providing nursing care was spent wandering around the facility. A lot of the things that we have to provide residents, we need 2 staff for. So you'd have to pre-organise to meet up with a buddy. The kind of technology we used, or the implements that we used before to communicate, were very cumbersome. There was lots of issues regarding privacy, and for walkie-talkies, for example, we trialled that for a period of time. And there were, all sorts of...
Guest Shane has soiled himself, broadcast to the entire...
True, because people would forget, or we'd get truckies coming in over the airwaves swearing and having all sorts of fun. And we'd be in the middle of the lounge room giving out our medication, and all these expletives would be going everywhere.
And they would have been distributing education too.
They were.
Drugs over there.
And some of our residents have actually complained that they're not hearing that, I must admit. They thought that was quite funny. But a lot of the time was wasted.
So, in other words, We've solved our health care problem, but we've taken the entertainment away.
Yeah, exactly. It's not so much fun, and it's a lot quieter.
Can I ask you, so I'm trying to put myself in the life of an RN, a registered nurse, in that environment. It must be almost impossible to do, I'll meet you at 11 o'clock to do this bath or whatever, because...
Oh, they get interrupted and disturbed.
Yeah.
A doctor would come in and want to do a round. We'd have allied health wanting to see different residents. Family members coming in, all sorts of issues. So it was just about nearly impossible. And often the person that they'd arranged to meet got held up somewhere else. So by the time they got to the particular room, the person they'd arranged to meet wasn't even there. So it was it was chaotic, really.
It's almost... So the most important part of the technological solution, which I know wasn't your kind of role, was that people needed to be connected all the time.
Yes.
Meaning you couldn't predetermine what a day would look like because it's a reactive-based business.
Very much so.
I don't even use the word business necessarily, but the care is reactive. So if you don't know where everyone is at any given point in time and be able to connect to them and those who you want, and not, excuse me, I'm just going to let you have your seizure, I'm going to duck outside and make a phone call. It's like, right now, need people here, fix this, do that. I mean, ultimately, it's how to be on all the time everywhere and be able to... Is that...
Yeah, it's quite accurate. And we couldn't determine the importance of the calls that we were receiving also. So if we got a call from a resident and a staff member rushed down and they always do rush down, despite what the residents say. I've been calling for 35 minutes and that nurse hasn't come. But the nurse would go down and find out what the problem was, and the resident may say, I just need a towel, or I'd like a cup of tea. And, so we
at which point the nurse would go, no problem.
Yes,
I wasn't saving anyone's advice.
And we do that too, because they're gorgeous, our resis. But, there was a lot of time wasted and then, by the time you get called down for 20 unimportant reasons, and then an emergency occurs, you may not be as fast-paced down to that room perhaps, or the level of the resident's anxiety has risen because they've called for help and they don't know whether you've actually even heard that call, because we couldn't respond to them until they actually saw us in person.
So it's not just connecting those delivering the service, it's also collecting those who are receiving the healthcare as well.
Yeah, and I think it was...
Because I saw one of them with a thing on.
Yeah. Oh, the resident?
Yeah.
No, they don't actually wear the visera.
Right.
I think they might have just done that for the promo, but what they wear a nurse call alert, which is not new. In fact, a lot of the technology that we've used, except for Visera, is not new, but it's more the integration of different companies that have worked with IBM very collaboratively to try and meet our needs in a number of ways. And one of them was with the nurse call system and RFID asset tracking, a security system and IP telephony that have all linked together to make this amazing communication system, which is, I think we're one of the first in the world to have it.
Yeah, aren't people like touring your facility?
They are. And we can actually speak directly to a resident now through a wireless phone in their room, that when the nurse speaks through Visera, hands-free, so she could be doing anything at the time. She could be doing a wound dressing, she could be on a computer putting in progress notes, and the call will come through from the resident, and we can speak back, dial into the resident's room, and their speakerphone is internally generated, and the resident doesn't have to touch their phone. They can just talk to us through their phone, even if they're not near the phone. They could be in the bathroom, for example.
That is so powerful, right?
And yeah,
the one that you can keep doing what you're doing and knowing the physical restraints of aged care.
Mm-hmm.
You see those telephone ads where they're probably selling mobile telephones, where the old gentleman gets up to answer the call or the door, and by the time he gets there, it's all closed down. I mean, you get rid of that as an issue.
Mm-hmm. And their levels of anxiety reduce when they hear our voice. Even residents that have a high level of dementia that sometimes can't even communicate verbally with us, they know our voices so well because we're looking after them all the time. And just to hear one of our nurses say, "It's all right, Mary, I'll be down there in a minute," is just an amazing thing to be able to do that for residents, so they're not worrying. Plus, when they used to ring the bell before, they never knew whether we'd actually heard it or not. And it happens in the acute sector. If anyone's ever been in hospital and you want to call for the nurse and you're buzzing on that buzzer, you don't get any response until 15 minutes later when they've been held up and they're very busy. They arrive and say, "What do you want?"
Yeah.
Too bad I'm bleeding to death.
In a way. I'm not doing too well here.
Yeah.
It's the same as what you guys did at Rico, right? That is giving the field service staff the ability to connect it, although you do it through a screen, and the ability to enter orders in, find out where parts are, arrange meetings. You don't have you guys have a tablet system, as I understand, but you need to be able to do it with just voice in the moment, on the spot. So there's a question I know people will be dying to ask is, how on earth did you get registered nurses to embrace technology? Because I've worked in health and nursing, and that is a tough gig.
Yeah, I think probably it was the way we implemented the change, and that was making sure that, making sure that all the people from the ground floor up were involved in the decision making at the time. We spent a lot of time looking at alternate solutions and discussing the pros and cons. As Tanya mentioned in our screen, we did time and motion studies, some quite sophisticated studies. We have a partnership with the Centre for Health Innovation at the Alfred in Melbourne, and they worked with us to try and make sure that we were getting the right solutions for the problems that we had. And our staff have been absolutely amazing, but I think the real reason is because they could see the benefits straight away. And Visera in particular is it's a fun piece of technology. I think there was some Star Trekkies, or what do they call them, that were involved in the...
There's some Star Trekkies here, I
can show. What do they call those people? That were involved in the design of it. So, yeah. So that if you want to say, beam me up, Scotty, you go, ooh. And if you want to say goodbye, it says live long and prosperous, and there's all these funny things, and you can change the voices and everything. But basically, it's really easy to use. That's the key issue.
That sounds like loyalty.
And we did spend a lot of time on training as well, just making sure, well, not so much a lot of time on training, but we were always available. People weren't made to feel stupid if they didn't quite, pick it up as quickly as others,
So you made it about the outcome. You made it work in there the way they work. Like you didn't just shove new technology and say you need to work different. You allowed people to keep doing what they were doing, but you put a smart infrastructure.
Yeah, we looked at workflow really carefully. We didn't want to change their practices because, they're doing things the right way and they're providing fantastic levels of care, but we needed to communicate better. So we wanted to make it easier for them. So it's helped us with recruitment and retention. When staff come to work at our facility, they know that they can do their job better and it lets them get on with their job.
Question number 2, Helen. Give Jo a hand. I think she did a great job.
Oh, thanks, Peter. Thank you very much. Thank you.